have never desired your good opinion.
People fear what they do not understand.
I have a headache, a badge, and a gun.
Power is yours.
Behave.
I was just trying to start a conversation.
And share the wonders I've seen.
Hi, and welcome back to The Wonders I've Seen. I'm your host, Tanagra, and this is the third and final part in our three-part discussion on Star Trek Discovery, aka STD. As before, I'm joined by my guest, J-ecks. Glad's low bar of acceptance, bad dialogue, and what is good about this show. Yes, there are some good things. You'll be amazed. Enjoy the wonders.
Our LGBTQ.
You mean our gays that are buried, but I believe it was have a love story across dimensions is how it was sold to us by Glad. Yeah, I was like, I'm like Glad saying they backed it. I had so many problems with.
I'm gonna give Glad. I'm just gonna give them this one because they were probably like me, with the black woman and Asian woman lead. Was just like,
you mean desperate for representation?
They're so desperate for representation, and you don't get to see gay couples in science fiction either. So they were probably like, yes.
Actually, that's
they're like, and they're not like any kind of weird stereotype. And
I have no rebuttal for that, except yes, you're right.
They were probably like, we'll take it. And it's sad that we have to take it, but we will take it.
But then he's killed, and like his partner, who it's never, I just assumed it was his husband, but they never actually say it. Never even warns him at the end of the season. He's like, I'm doing okay. And I was like, are you? Because your partner that we literally had an entire, 10 minutes of an episode, you talking about how you fell in love dancing with him and seeing him.
Yeah.
And then you're just fine now.
So I'm also upset that Ricky is dead.
Because Ricky was amazing, and I have enjoyed him.
Ricky. I know that is not his name.
No, it's not. Sorry, Wilson Cruz, because I know what your real name is, but I
know, and Ricky is his my so-called life name.
It is, but that's when I met you and fell in love with you. Yeah. So you're Ricky.
Because they
also you look the same, okay?
But they also don't make his character significant enough for me to remember his name. The Doctor. But I don't remember his name.
Right, but the Doctor is how I refer to the hologram.
Yeah, because his name actually is the Doctor.
Because he's a hologram. Yeah. So he doesn't have a name, which is part of it. Right. So I don't want to do that with somebody who's actually supposed to be like a human.
He's a character. And it's just that they don't give us enough of him. And then they kill him off, which is bullshit.
And then there's never any sort of mourning. And nobody on the crew even talks about it until they bring back Vok Tyler, and they're like, for the murder of so-and-so.
Yeah.
And then you see, Vok Tyler being like, did I actually kill him? And you're like, yeah. And then, he's
the only one who's up about it.
He's the only one, and everybody else is like, so, you're a Klingon. And he's, dealing with, that and that he killed somebody, and they're like, but you're a Klingon. What can you tell us about the war? And I'm like, I'm going to need y'all to stop for a minute and realize that somebody died who was supposed to be a member of your crew, and a important member on that.
A significant member of your crew.
Right.
I mean, and
it's such I feel like it's such a long-term, burying your gays trope, right? They're not going to do it in 2 episodes. They're just going to do it across the entire half of the season, and that's problematic. It doesn't make it better.
Because what I was hoping was when they killed him.
Tell me your dreams.
Okay. What I was hoping was when they killed him that they would find another one of him, Wilson Cruz.
Yes.
Dr. somebody.
Yes.
I forget your name. Because they killed you off in the 4th episode.
Right.
And was that we would find his counterpart in the Terran universe.
Yes. That's what I was hoping too.
And that they would actually be in love across universe time,
which I
would have gone for, because I felt like their relationship, even though we didn't get a lot of made sense that it happened in the past, because they were obviously an established relationship. And I was right, so, and I feel like they presented that very well, that we're an established couple, and I their chemistry conveyed that, and I was fine with that completely. But he never comes back except in a dream, and we could just say he's the hallucination of what is his name? Engineering Spore Guy.
Let's just go with Engineering Spore Guy.
Okay, his character.
Yeah. Spore Driver.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is also a weird thing they did with... And I feel like they could have done so much with his character too, because when he first came on, I didn't like him as a person.
He was an ass. I felt we weren't supposed to like him, and then I thought that Wilson Cruz's character was supposed to make him likable.
Yeah, and I think that, because a lot of times we know couples like that, where you just, like, one guy is, and it kind of makes sense for what they are. He's an engineer, which are usually, tech people are a little standoffish sometimes. Right. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I could go with that. I totally get this. Yes. And, like, the doctor with a good bedside manner is, like, the more human part of him.
And then they fall in love, and then they ask to be on the same ship, and
or they could be married, and that's why they're on the same ship.
Which was never
well, they share quarters, so I'm assuming.
Right, but I also hate the fact that, like, we have to assume. Yeah. Like, do you know what I mean? To just be like, and then when I met my husband is a really easy thing but to say, but once again, we've also talked about how crappy the dialogue is in this show, so fine.
So a positive thing about them is that I do like that the two of them are actually gay in real life.
I agree.
Because I feel like, I don't know. I'm just like, I'm all about marginalized people getting work. So like,
no, definitely. Like, okay. Definitely. I do love that, and that when they spoke not only for their characters who are gay, but also for, like, themselves as gay and for the community as gay. I completely agree with that. But also why it pisses me off so much that, like, Glad and Wilson Cruz, like, both endorsed this story and were like, don't worry, it's not a bearing your gaze trope. And I was like, it is. It's just a long one. Yeah. It's a long form version of that. And I don't care that they met in his mind, which means it wasn't actually him. It was his imagination of him in his mind with the opera music playing in the back. That doesn't make it better. That's not closure. That doesn't fix the fact that you literally killed off the only gay character on this show.
The only, gay person of color, too. Right. Which we never get. We never get intersectionality. So I was like, oh.
Anytime I seen it, I think that's half the reason why I was hoping, like, the redhead with the half-shaved head. Yeah, I'm sure she has a name, y'all. You can Google it. Like, in Terran Universe was into Burnham. I was like, oh, we're going to get Burnham. We're going to get some mad intersectionality with that bisexual black, like, raised by a Vulcan female. And, like, don't get that. And then you kill off. Right. You kill off Wilson Cruz's character. So you're like, okay, so that little bit of intersectionality that we did have is not there.
Sanum? Colbert.
It is Colbert.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
it's Stamets is Anthony Rapp, and then Colbert is Wilson Cruz.
Okay.
Yeah.
But yeah, I feel like, because then it makes me like, what's going to happen for season 2? Because now Stamets' character can't. He just, like, his partner was just, like, murdered.
But he's fine.
Whatever.
He's doing okay.
Because
everybody is doing okay.
They were the only two people who were in love that I actually bought, too. I'm like, okay. They actually have good chemistry, too. So I was okay.
They were cute. Yeah. I was all for it.
Yeah, I was like, okay, I can actually believe this.
Right.
Y'all, other people I don't believe. I don't even believe that y'all like each other. But, like, these two, I'm like, all right.
I feel like they were, like, right. No, they were like, look. We need to represent for the minorities, so we're gonna like each other. Okay, cool. And, like, they shook hands on it and, like, walked away. Right? That's what I feel like. Them I actually believed. I loved, shout out to whoever thought of the episode where they're brushing their teeth. It's a very cute, very domestic interaction.
Yes.
And I loved it. Of course, then you killed him off, so I was like, why did you establish that emotional...
I feel like, that kind of made me angry. That made me angry, not kind of. That made me angry, and it's same with Lorca, is like, okay, now that there are only two people I actually got kind of emotionally invested into this show, and then you killed them off.
Right.
What is this, Game of Thrones?
Basically. Which, actually, let's talk about hopes for season 2. I feel like that's actually sort of what they're going for. Like, you'll be invested, and then they'll just kill them off. Right? Because, like, even with... I only feel like the only reason that, they released that still of Michelle Yeoh's character... recording for the next season, feel half the reason that she's coming back is because they realize, like, oh, we killed off these people that people actually liked. which was Lorca, which was like the gay couple, because we were all like, oh, let's watch how this progresses. And like, nope, haha, kill those dreams. Like, and then they're like, well, we need to have somebody that people care about, and it's Michelle Yeoh's character, because I feel like they didn't establish Burnham enough for me to really know even where she is, what she stands for, and like, you're not going to get 2 seasons out of me following it because she's a black female. Let me be honest.
No, I mean, because the only reason why I like Burnham is that because she was a black female.
Right.
But she doesn't give me enough. And,
no.
I mean, after a while, she was starting to get on my nerves too. And I mean,
agreed.
You know, I'm like, okay, I get that in Vulcan logic is a learned form, but...
Right, but then I'm supposed to be watching you go through some, like, emotional growth, but that also doesn't... I let them have that storyline, but it actually doesn't make sense, because she says that she's been with Giorgio for, like, 7 years.
Yeah, exactly.
Among humans, and they make a big deal about it when Sarge introduces her.
And she also went to the academy, which I'm sure you do some learning.
Right, and so then only now... post-war, she's starting to go through this emotional growth, and you're like, what were you doing the 7 years before this?
And I also just think, you know, like, part of the reason why I feel like I kept watching this too, another reason why, was that you have these great actors that you are not taking advantage of.
Very true.
Because you have really crappy writing, but I mean,
there's so much talent.
I won't say that the actors delivered it badly, because they were all good.
No, I would agree. Even with Vux Tyler, like,
yeah,
even him playing, like,
2 different, yeah.
Right, and then he plays, like, Vuk in the Terran world, who's completely different from Vuk in this the first, I'll call it the first Star Trek Disco world.
Yeah.
Even that is, like, a different Vuk, and I was like, kudos to you for doing that. But all this talent and shitty writing,
right?
You still are going to get a bad show, because actors can only do but so much. They're not changing the dialogue. They're not rewriting the dialogue. Like, there are some good scenes. There are some good moments in this show, but the bad are really bad.
The bad is the plot.
Right, and it's consistent.
Because there's no plot.
Exactly.
Like,
Exactly. And also, like, now, the fact that they end it with, like, Vuk Tyler going off and being a quote-unquote liaison, although he's actually a murderer and technically a fugitive of the United Federation of Planets, but he's somehow going to help keep the peace with the Klingon Empire, which actually only stopped fighting because L'Rell now has a bomb that could destroy the Klingon homeworld. And you're going to be like, that's an ending to his story. Like, if you don't deal with that next season, like,
yeah.
You left that there, you need to deal with that. Like, you really need, and I'm hoping they do, and instead they're like, oh wait, but here's Pike and
it's in the Enterprise.
In the Enterprise. And I was like, you don't need to add more. You don't need more characters. You don't need more storyline. You need to actually flesh out what you have, because all of season 1, I agree, it should have been 3 seasons.
And that's not the Enterprise. But anyway.
It's
supposed to be the Enterprise, it just doesn't look like the Enterprise.
Oh, yeah, agree.
But
yeah, the aesthetics of this show, like,
but yeah, the technology on here is really good, and it's way better than the original series, which is why it doesn't make sense too.
Which,
I mean, they have like
they
have like holographic, and then you could hologram instead of like video conferencing. You're hologramming yourself.
Thank you.
And I was like, that is such a great thing.
Right, and which makes sense, but it doesn't make sense in the timeline. It makes
doesn't.
sense post.
Which they should have done.
Post DS9.
Yeah.
And then also not have Klingons, because, like, once again, DS9 also, like, included the Kardashians, which have, like, a beautiful, like, fleshed out backstory. Like, there's so much more you could have done with that. And then you're like, let's go Klingons. Let's mess it up. Once again, I'm really just hoping they're going to find out that they, whatever, mitochondrial back to the wrong verse. I really do. All right.
I hope they don't have any more Klingons, because
You think that's the end of the Klingon storyline?
I hope so.
But they left everything up in the air, and we know for a fact that TOS, they run into the Klingons again.
I mean, they do, but we don't have to see that. We could just see TOS
I don't feel like the writers are that good, and I think they're going to stay with it because they spent so much money on that new Baroque character design. I gotta be honest. I think they're going to stay with it, unfortunately. I feel like they established, like, the Klingons are the others in this war, and I mean the others as in the othering, right? Mm-hmm. In this war, and I think they're going to stick with it. Whether or not they should, we'll see. Or maybe they're going to do, like, some new, like, Federation conspiracy. That's what the latest fan theory is, that the ship is actually part of the deep unit that they introduced in Enterprise, and so maybe the ship is part of that. So
I'm hoping that they're not in the same universe, and that they've actually gone into another universe, so that makes sense for everything.
I feel like I'm hoping for that too, but I also feel like I'm giving the writers too much credit if they do that. I gotta be honest.
Yeah, I mean, that's true. Yeah.
I really like that. I hope that's what they do, but I think it's too much credit.
Let's talk Saru. Saru's
great. Okay, aka the actor's great.
Yeah, I don't like him as a character. First of all, I think you're too chicken shit to be captain.
I thought it was interesting that he was actually even a first officer when his entire thing is to run.
Yeah.
And he even constantly says that genetically he's programmed, because like just because you're genetically programmed to do something doesn't mean you have to. But he constantly falls back on that as a reason for why he does stuff, but you're a first officer.
So I'm like, how are you running away from everything? And like,
right.
The fact that, honestly, like, the fact that Michael is on the ship makes you want to flee is also annoying, and that's very loaded.
Yeah. Once again, more diversity in your writer's room, y'all, because you don't pick a black female to be this person and then you do coded things like that.
Yeah, like, oh, she's so dangerous, like, she's so violent that she started a war, and her essence of being on this ship just makes me want to flee.
Right, on a biological intrinsic level.
Yeah.
Right.
Which made me, because first of all, I felt like blaming her for the war is bullshit.
It is.
Because, like, not one person, this isn't Helen of Troy.
Not one person. Even Helen wasn't fully at fault, because there was no reason to start a war between nations over that.
Yeah, so it's just like, really?
Mm-hmm.
And I honestly don't know what she did that was so... Like, she went to go...
I agree.
Explore something. That's what they do.
They were a science vessel.
Yeah.
Right. And she explores it, and then she defends herself, which, like, there's nothing against defending yourself.
Right.
And then all of a sudden she starts the war. Right. Like, it's very obvious that, like, the Klingon Empire had set up to attack Federation, so I don't understand why the entire time that they, and even she, is like... I started a war. I have to finish it.
Yeah.
And it's said so many times, and every time it was said, I was annoyed.
And even Georgia starts to be on her side, because that's how she gets killed on the Klingon vessel.
Right.
And then I'm like, and then she gets killed, so it all, like, basically Plan B goes to shit. So then I'm gonna now go to jail, and I think now I deserve to go to jail, even though, like, 2 seconds ago I didn't believe I thought I was doing the right thing. Right. And I'm like...
Once again, that rapid, like, let's just get to the next stage. Let's not actually, like, think out and play out the character development.
She was a mutineer for, like, 2 seconds, and then Georgia was on her side.
And she was like, oh, yeah, okay, this is how we stop the war, right? And then all of a sudden, like...
Oh, Saru wasn't a first officer, because Burnham was her first officer.
No, he was the science officer.
Oh, yeah.
But he was, like...
Oh, he was Lorca's first officer.
He was Lorca's first officer, right. Like, there's no reason for him to become that either.
Right.
It's all
problematic. And he didn't even like Burnham on Georgia's vessel.
No, because he didn't think that she used science enough, which is also why the idea that he didn't think, she used science enough. But that's also why it makes even less sense that when she's on Lorca's ship, all of a sudden she's starting a new emotional journey.
Yeah.
Right, because the entire point of
which is kind of crazy for someone who grew up on Vulcan. Anyway, yeah.
Right, which is right, because Sarek even says when he introduces her to Giorgio that it could be good for her and like human emotions and everything, right? So then all of a sudden you get on Lorca's ship and now you're just discovering him, like when the entire first episode is about her relationship with Giorgio, which I loved that relationship.
Loved that,
but it was also
side note, I follow Michelle Yeoh on Instagram, and like I find them two together cute.
They are.
Yeah, so...
like, I feel like they both understood what they represented, like, as women of color, right? Leading this show. And so it hurt even more when they killed her off. And then the fact that they sort of set Burnham's character back after Michelle Yeoh's character dies. And not just, like, emotionally, but, like, the entire character all of a sudden is like, oh, well, I've never been around humans. I don't know
all of those things.
Right. And she's, like, the only woman of color besides random unnamed black woman who I believe was a navigator. Like, it's so problematic and it's so loaded, and I was like, y'all really needed more people
And there's
of
a
color.
black guy on,
No, he shows up randomly, because he's not there when they first get to Lorca's ship.
But I don't know what he does anyway.
Do any of us know what any of them do besides, let's see, there's Vuk Tyler, there's
He's
Tilly.
the security officer.
There's
Tilly's a
cadet in science who's magically the second in command. In engineering.
Yeah.
Right. Then there's Saru, who's the first officer.
Yeah.
And then there's Burnham.
Stamets is the engineer.
Oh, right. That's right. There's Stamets.
Head of engineer.
And then his husband, who's the
dies,
doctor. Who's the doctor.
Which, how do you kill the doctor off? He's not a red shirt. How? I mean, there are no red shirts.
Which is also why it's such a bearing your gaze trope, right?
Yeah.
Because it doesn't even make sense that Vuk Tyler kills him. Because, like literally, it doesn't make any sense. He's like, oh, you found out. And I was like, right, but these are medical records, so they don't just disappear because you killed the person who, told you what they said.
Yeah.
Like, I don't really mean to be, technical about this.
Yeah.
But, yeah, okay. Right.
Medical records in the future are even worse than they are now.
Right. I remember being like, so why did he kill him when he...
I know.
He did a science... the science is still
right there.
Science. It's still there. He kills him and then passes out. But you want me to believe that killing him was, what you said was your survival mechanism? I guess that's what they're trying to imply. Anyway, once again, why it's bearing the gay trope. It's not even logical. But yeah, that's it. Those are the people that I know. Everybody else is I can describe them what they look like, or the random bridge crew members who are switched out because they're all white and then become people of color when Saru gives his rousing speech.
Yeah.
In order to leave the Terran universe.
There's an Asian guy who's random and there's a black guy who's random on the bridge, which they weren't on the. You're right, they weren't on the show. Which is they don't even have names in my head.
No. You are correct. They are black guy and Asian guy. Boxes checked.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we don't get to know them.
Nope.
And because we don't have long enough time to know them.
No, we don't.
So.
But that's once again poor writing. They could have had basic interactions. You can see the quality of writing that was put into the pilot with little things that Giorgio says, and then they show the crew reacting and a sense of family and a sense of group, right? And everyday interactions and laughing that you don't get anywhere after that. And I think that's because the first episode, Fuller wrote that, and Fuller is a diehard Star Trek fan. Went to cons back in the 70s and the 80s, and it comes through. And then after that, you don't get that sense anymore. Nobody knows how to write an ensemble, or much less a Star Trek ensemble, which Star Trek ensembles are different, right, than ensembles in other shows. But just basic ensemble, you don't get that.
Again,
even
if you followed your own formula.
I know. I agree. Because, I don't feel that way when I watch the NCISs. Because there are so many. But I still watch them. Right. I don't feel that way. And it's just CBS, why don't you understand that ensemble is ensemble? It all works the same together. Each character plays a role and represents something different. Just put them in space.
Exactly. Because that's all Star Trek ever was.
Yeah, completely.
It was just a normal story set in space.
I mean, no, Roddenberry never said it was... Right, Roddenberry never said Star Trek was cutting edge because it was, something so new. It was simply the ideas that he put forward. He just put it in space so then people would feel more comfortable. Right? As you were saying, to make it more palatable to people. That's why. So, why CBS can't do that is upsetting, and I'm hoping they do
especially
better.
When they have so many ensemble shows. It's
no, you mean literally every single thing on their channel?
is an ensemble show.
It is.
It's just how you just take, instead of a law firm,
right?
You set it in space, or instead of
instead of the CSI, you set it in space.
Instead of the BAU, you set it in space. It's just just set it in space.
Right. So I'm hoping next season that they fix it, that it gets better. We'll see. We're still going to watch it, let's be honest.
I mean, I'm going to watch the first couple of episodes because... Right. So, I put... There are, these levels of shows... my level of watching. Okay. Right? So, I have shows that I watch... that I could just pay complete attention to.
Yeah.
And I'm not multitasking. I'm watching that show. That is not very many shows, to be honest with you. That may be, 2 or 3 shows
that take your full attention.
Yeah.
Right.
That I will watch. And then I have these shows that I watch while I'm playing video games.
Fair.
On my laptop.
Okay, that's fair. Nice 2 screens up, multitasking.
Yeah. And this one fell into that one. And then
that's
there's
a bad starting place, though.
Yeah, and there are shows that I hate watch. But
yes, so, I know you're hate watching.
But I feel like this one fell into, and because this isn't a show that I can hate watch, because it's not even that cheesy or entertaining. It's just it's bad. It's bad,
right?
And I mean, they would need to clean some things up before I would watch it again.
Yeah.
And if they had decided not to make this I feel like if they decided to make this if they had decided to make this a regular sci-fi show and not a Star Trek show, I probably would be even a little more forgiving.
Completely.
Of it.
I agree with that, actually, so would I. But when you
it would still have bad plot holes and plot problems and character development.
Exactly.
But I wouldn't, I would have nothing to compare it to.
Right. So I would give it a chance.
Yeah, and I mean, like, if we talk about the science fiction shows that I do watch, I mean, like, my bar of entertainment is not that high.
I feel like any science fiction fantasy fan, it's not that high. You gotta be honest. If you're watching anything, because a lot of times people just don't know how to do it well.
Right.
So you're more forgiving.
Yeah, because, I mean, there are a couple of shows that I watch that I'm like,
man.
I mean, there are very few science fiction shows that I watch that I'm like, this is great. This is fantastic.
I agree.
And I'm like, I mean, Battlestar Galactica.
Right.
Yeah,
because even Game of Thrones, I have major issues with that.
Right.
And their character development is on point, but I have major other issues with that as a woman. Yeah. And as a minority. Yeah. Like, why are all your dark people slaves, y'all? Why are you dark people slaves?
Right. Well, that's George R. R. Martin.
That's also another show. But yeah.
And I also like The Expanse, because I feel like that's also another show that has I
gotta continue watching that.
A lot more,
right?
Better plot and all this other stuff. But I mean, but like my whole Sci-Fi Channel repertoire, goes into the cheesy, but very entertaining. And I feel like even Star Trek, I feel like it also felt into, it could be cheesy, but also very entertaining. Right. I would never put it, I honestly, even the old ones, I would not put it on the same level as like Battlestar Galactica.
No, and somebody told me that if I watch Babylon 5, I'll feel the same way about Deep Space Nine, which I'm currently marathoning Babylon 5. Mm-hmm. I bought the entire series and all the movies on DVD to watch them, so there will be an episode about that in the future. But I can already see how it's better fleshed out and better thought out than DS9 is, because I feel like DS9 was so caught up in fixing all the mistakes of previous and current, aka Voyager, like, mistakes, that they had to fix that and then try to tell their own story, versus Babylon 5 just sort of starts fully fleshed out. So yeah, I'd agree with that. Right. That level of cheesy enjoyment with Star Trek is hard to find.
Right. So I'm like, really my bar was not high for this show, so for you to fail... Exactly. So, and then you're going to try to get non-Star Trek people, then you really need a fleshed out story.
Right, I agree.
Because I know one thing that turns off people is science fiction. And, you need to make this something that...
People feel like they're, just hearing those words, they think barrier to entry. Yeah. I gotta learn about a whole new world.
And I don't want to, but if you make the story good... Right. So, I mean... Again, as far as crew goes, it's definitely more progressive than the other Star Treks. But
only visually, because I still don't know their names.
Well, we don't know. I hardly know any of those names. I mean, honestly...
I know names from other shows more than I know from this one.
No, I mean, even the white people on this show, I don't really know their names.
But that's my... Right, I don't know anybody's name. Yeah. I agree.
But what I'm saying is, it's visually it's progressive, right? And they definitely need to do more character development, because I forgot Lorca's name, to be honest with you, until you said it. I was like, oh yeah, that's a guy's name.
To be fair, there was a while I just called him Malfoy, so I'm not gonna
really, I just called him Jason Isaacs.
right. So I'm not gonna say that it was stuck in my head, but I've now watched this series several times, so I could see if the things that I disliked, maybe I just had too high expectations, which I didn't. They were bad as a Star Trek fan or just as somebody who's critiquing television.
Right.
Well, season 2, we'll give it a try.
I'll give it a try, a couple of episodes, but if they don't clean it up, then I can't promise that I'm going to continue watching it.
I mean, I think that's only fair. All right, so, whew, that was a talk. That's all the wonders I have to share with you today. Thank you to our wonderful guest, J-ecks, for joining us to continue the discussion. If you want to keep talking about this, because I will always talk Star Trek, Babylon 5, or any other show that we've mentioned here, you can find me on Twitter at GGNOC Tanagra. And where can they find you, J-ecks?
Not on the interwebs.
All right, so
not on the social medias.
So contact me if you would like me to pass along a message or a comment to J-ecks. Thanks for joining us. Make choices and don't frowning up.